your destiny. TheorySabers.com. Tonight's episode was the worst Star Wars thing that I have ever seen. I don't even think I can call it Star Wars. I think it's just Disney Star Wars trying to... Let's just get into it. This was horrible. Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse. But it manages to break records and surprise me once again.
You'll find I'm full of surprises.
As we get a different camera angle of literally episode 3, a $180 million Star Wars project, re-uploading the same episode, essentially from a different point of view. To counter this, I'm doing a 24-hour flash sale on TheorySabers.com, 15% off, use code REBEL at checkout. As the Jedi use some metal detectors in an open field to hopefully find some credits, because the salary of the Jedi at this time is just not really cutting it, or maybe they're hoping to find a Force sensitive in the ground. We shift to nighttime by the campfire, as Torben whines about not finding anything on this planet for weeks, but it's a good thing Kelnaka was using his metal detector. You never know how many coins you might find. They talk about why they're here, and get this, they've encountered a vergence in the Force.
I've encountered a vergence in the Force.
That's right, the very same vergence that Qui-Gon brought to the attention of the Jedi High Council. The vergence that was the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker. The one prophecy that would bring balance to the Force was sensed here because some witches pulled threads and created one Force-sensitive child that split into two, light and dark. They say a vergence is around an area on this planet, and there's nothing more important to the Jedi than this prophecy. I mean, the original prophecy of the Chosen One, and that's not Anakin, but rather these witch children. Torben keeps whining that he wants to go home to Coruscant, and the Jedi Masters are regretting bringing him on such a vital mission. But seeing as how he's Trinity's Padawan, he has to. Sol spies on the kids in a few of the other scenes from Episode 3, replay, literally just cut and paste, including the witches chanting over a pit. And like I said, it's just a new angle of Episode 3, because why not? It's not like they had $180 million, more than any of the prequel films, to shoot some new content. We know these witches aren't Night Sisters. There's some other brand of witches, which is interesting because one of the main witches, the one that actually conceived the twins, is a Zabrak. And most Zabraks are typically from Dathomir, which is the home of the Night Sisters. But hey, maybe she ran away from them too, because as Anastasia says, the galaxy doesn't like women like them. Anastasia has some weird sexual tension with Torben as she infiltrates his mind and tells him that she'd never deny what he wants, and always let him have what he, sexual gaze, needs. Then forces him to get on his knees. This show is so provocative and has so many suggestive themes, it's really not becoming of Star Wars at all. I wonder why the constant obsession with sex is so prevalent in this show. The most sexual thing in all of Star Wars was when Dex made that one joke to Obi-Wan about how big his pocketbook is.
How big your pocketbook is.
Indara wants to drop all of this, but Sol is hell-bent on testing the girls. He is more irrational and emotional than any Jedi Master we have ever seen. The guy cannot control his obsession with taking these girls back with him to Coruscant to get them trained. Why? I don't know. Qui-Gon wanted to train Anakin, and he was very composed and together. He requested and spoke with reason, even when he was denied. Sol is the modern-day Jedi. Overly emotional, uncomposed, obsessive, impulsive, and very soft. Sol should be named Soy. They check their midichlorians and it's a rip from the Phantom Menace again, with how they say the M count is off the charts. It's incredibly high.
The reading is off the chart. Over 20,000.
Even Master Yoda doesn't have a midichlorian count that high.
Leslie probably wanted to put that it's higher than Anakin, maybe giving it a 21,000 M count, but maybe someone said, look, we can handle a lot of heat, but this is just too much for us. So we'll have to cut the actual metrics out of the script. The Council denies bringing the kids to the Jedi Temple, meaning they spoke with the Jedi High Council, meaning Yoda, and now Ki-Adi-Mundi, who isn't supposed to be alive yet, knows that a vergence in the Force has been found and that 2 Force-sensitive children have been created. I'm sorry. The threads created them, not the Force. They find that the girls were artificially created and only a Virgins in the Force could have created a power that big to split one entity into these two twins. Wow, imagine if they weren't split. They'd be 10 times more powerful than the Emperor, Yoda, and Anakin combined. It's a good thing they were split into two. Sol continues to be an emotional mess and have some weird attachment to the twins for literally no reason at all, despite not knowing them for more than 5 seconds. They realize only a Virgins could create this type of power, and Torben, who is so homesick now, runs to his speeder and rides away, in the hopes that kidnapping the kids will be the proof that the Jedi Council needs to tell them to come home. I'm sorry, this is ridiculous, man. When they literally just told them to come home and not to meddle any further on this planet. I mean, he wants to go home, the Jedi say come home, so then he goes after the children to kidnap them and force the Jedi to understand that there are Virgins in the Force, to then say, okay, bring them home so we can test them so that he can go home, when they already just said, come home. The writing in this show is not only bad, it just makes no sense. They set up one plot point and then counter it by solving it and then doing the opposite and creating a new plot point as if the one they just created to solve it never existed. I just don't understand how this was granted $180 million or even approved. May has a 2-second fit with her Zabrak mom who conceived her, yet she looks nothing like the species, and they have a Force fight of threads. She tells her to get angry, and she shrieks as she beats the control panel, locking everyone in. We get more yelling and overacting as they arm themselves with more thread power, and Sol climbs the tower. May sets fire to the book, then she looks really surprised when it catches fire. Then she drops it and all of the bricks burn down, so she stomps on the raging fire haphazardly, and then it spreads, and she runs away screaming for her mom. Literally, she sets the thing on fire purposefully and then looks at it confused and tries to shake the fire away as it catches fire after she tried to put it on fire. I don't know, man. Sol confronts the witch Anastasia and asks, how were they born? And she says, someday those noble intentions you have will be the end of every Jedi in the galaxy. Meaning, of course, Anakin Skywalker. So she probably can see into the future or something, and she got a little sneak peek at Order 66. It's unfortunate, though. She should have seen a little sneak peek at her own death a few seconds later after she turns into a demon and then claims that she was trying to save the children. But we're not there yet. May runs in asking for help after deliberately setting fire to off her sister after saying she's going to do just that. And Anastasia turns into a demon with black eyes, starts evaporating into black smoke as May also starts to disintegrate, and Sol decides to stop this by running his blue lightsaber through her, only to realize that he is now a killer and the bad guy, the oppressor, as Anastasia says she was about to let her child go with them. This is crazy, man. I honestly think this is the worst thing ever. This, to me, is worse than The Last Jedi. And if you've been following the channel for a long time, that's something I never thought I would ever say. I would honestly rather watch The Last Jedi 100 times than this show. Sol fights the Zabrak witch mommy, and it was way too powerful for her. He just kind of toys with her. So she vanishes into black smoke, and either she and or all the other witches take control of Kelnaka's mind, sending him into a bloodthirsty frenzy to kill Sol and Torben, as he pins Torben to the wall and is blocked and held by Torben's immense strength in this massively disadvantageous hand position against a full-grown, bloodthirsty, mind-controlled Wookiee Jedi Master. This is just... I can't make it up, dude. Trinity shows up before the Jedi die by Kelnaka's blade and ends up severing the Bluetooth connection the witches had on the Wookiee's mind. And get this, they all die. Literally, all the witches die from that. Not in the fire, not a big boulder falling on them, not Smiler Ren showing up and maybe slicing them all to pieces and blaming it on the Jedi, but literally because their mind control connection to the Wookiee failed, connection was lost, and they died. Even the super old Great Witch, who is presumably mega powerful due to her age, croaks. This is some pretty lazy writing. Feels like they just kind of wanted to get it over with and plot kill everyone. Just kill all the witches for ease. No thought or creativity whatsoever. Mind you, the way Trinity or Indara gets Kelnaka to sit still is by manhandling her, literally by jumping on him and UFC throwing him to the ground from his neck. A Wookiee who could have ripped Soul apart in a second ended up having enough time for Indara to save the day. We could say maybe he was just fighting back against the witches in his own mind, but it doesn't seem to be the case considering he's taking full-on lethal swings at them both with his lightsaber and charging at them to kill. Maybe Indara used the Force to kill all of the witches with her mind. When she turned her head, maybe that was like the kill switch. If that's the case, I mean, wow, that's quite the power to have for a Jedi. If only Dooku or Palpatine or heck, Yoda or someone had this ability, they could have controlled the whole galaxy with a couple head nods. Osha and May meet at the bridge, and by far the most amazing writing of the show. Soul struggles to use the Force. Now, stick with me. He struggles to use the Force to hold the bridge with the sisters instead of just, using the Force to hold the little girls in the air instead of the super heavy metal bridges, which weigh, I don't even know, maybe thousands of tons. It's space metal. Who knows how much it weighs? And then when he fails to do that simple task, he lets go of May as she dies, or so he thinks, and saves Osha by letting go of the bridges with the Force, only to scream and run to Osha as she falls to her death and grab her physically with his arm outstretched at the last second. When, he could have simply just used the Force to save her, heck, save both children, just like he was doing by wasting time with holding the bridges up, which he failed at. This is by far the most whack writing I have ever witnessed. Not even for Star Wars, just by itself, let alone incorporating the elements and rules of Star Wars. It I'm very surprised. They head to the ship back to Coruscant, and Kelnaka sends a message to Coruscant as Indara scolds them for their actions. They shouldn't have gone, she says. So Soul and Indara have a bit of a tussle, and they agree to lie to the Jedi Council about what happened. More lies. Quite unbelievable. I guess the Jedi Code means nothing. May burned the witch's fortress and everyone died is what the story is that they're going to go with. Osha wakes up and asks what happened, so Soul tells her that May started a fire, as he lies to her as well. So the Jedi are evil, they are liars, they are youngling nappers from the happy-go-lucky family that was bothering nobody. Those beautiful witches that created these two children and manipulated the thread to create these beings were stopped by the Jedi, who could sense this vergence in the Force from thousands of light years away, maybe millions of light years away, something that Qui-Gon Jinn couldn't even sense himself, nor Yoda. When it came time to the Phantom Menace, they couldn't feel Anakin being made by the Force in Shmi's tummy. So what do we gather from this episode so far? The Jedi are liars, they're oppressors, they lie to children, they lie to the Jedi Council, they go against orders, they can sense Force sensitives that are being made by the Force from light years away. They use metal detectors for what reason, I don't know, maybe to sense if there is a Force sensitive in the ground somewhere. Maybe they're looking for Middle Earth. Gosh, I really wanted to be excited for the show, and it pains me to constantly have to just rip this apart, but it just does it itself. I'm literally just I'm describing the story, and it just seems to sound not only ridiculous when I'm writing the breakdown, but when I'm recording it right now, I am just blown away that this is actually something I'm making a video on, that this is actually a $180 million Star Wars project, and we're all supposed to eat it up and love it and ask for a second season. This is where the buck stops with me. This is absolutely ridiculous. It is abhorrent, and it's a real mockery of what George created. I can't wait until this show is over finally and to see where episode 8 takes this abysmal, embarrassing piece of art. But hey, as long as a few people are happy, then I guess that's all that matters. Let me know what you thought of this episode. I hope you all have a great day. And remember, if you like The Acolyte, great for you. And if you don't like The Acolyte, great for you. Just be respectful to one another as we navigate through these interesting times. At the end of the day, we still have 1 to 6 and the Clone Wars and the upcoming Rey movie. Have a great day, everyone. May the Force be with you always.